Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this morning's Sage Accounting webinar. Let's get navigating through the accounting application, the setup of your company, chatting about the users, and creating transactions in the Sage Accounting application. I've logged into my company already, but to log into the company is a simple process. Just go to accounting.sage1.co.za, enter in your login details, and it will take you into your company itself. Once you've created the company, you can manage the company setup under the company tab. So if you go to company, change company settings, this is where you're going to go and manage the company setup itself. So you've got the company name, telephone number, fax number. I don't know who still uses a fax machine these days, but if you do, enter in the fax number that you may have there as well as your mobile number. On the right hand side, you've got some email communication tools that's been made available in the accounting application. So there's an option that says use this email address for communication, as well as use mail-service at accounting.sage1.co.za as the from address. And the reason why we've created this is to avoid emails ending up in spam folders, junk mail folders, or getting blocked by any server. So you're able to tick that box and the email sent through from the accounting application will reach the recipient successfully. You also have the option to CC yourself on all communication. I would suggest that you do so. Enter in your email address, tick the box that says always CC this email so that you receive a copy of whatever is being sent through from the accounting application itself. On the left-hand side, you've got the additional company information, company tax number, the registered number, your tax office, your entities. You're able to fill this information in as well if you see fit. You then have the customer zone on the left-hand side. The customer zone is an online portal where your customers are able to view their quotes, invoices, as well as their statements. If you would like for your customers to have a view of their accounts online, select the tick box that says Enable Customer Zone. Select the option you prefer. So the first option is your invoices and quotes only. That's exactly what your customers are going to view online. It's just the invoices and quotes. And then you have invoices and account history. That's your invoices, your quotes, as well as a statement, including your receipts that have been captured against the customer's account. And then ensure that you've got your company name entered in on that customer zone so your client knows exactly who they're working with at the end of the day. Online payment gateways. This is linked to your Netcash. We're working with some additional online payment gateways which we're looking to introduce in the next couple of months, so look out for that. These payment gateways allow you to process and make payments through the accounting application. Your payment of suppliers, pulling in bank statements into the accounting solution, that is all available to you as well. This is an additional cost. Select the option to set up my Netcash account and the Netcash team will be in contact with you to set up that account itself. So give it a go, have a look at the option and see what the offering is all about. Going into the general settings, you've got your financial years. From a financial year perspective, we don't limit you to the number of financial years in the accounting solution. As you can see, I've got financial years from 2006 all the way down. And creating a financial year is a pretty simple process. All you're going to do is click on your current financial year, change it to the financial year that you want to go and create. And what it will start doing is it will start filtering down. You'll see that it's gone to 2006. It will start filtering down to the new financial year that you're going to be creating itself. Alternatively, what you could do if you've got a financial year, for example, 2019-2020, and you want to create the financial year 2020-2021, just go into the financial year, change the financial year to what you want it to be, and your transactions will not get affected in any way. It will still fall into the correct financial year. So all these financial years that you may have, all the transactions will still fall into the correct financial year. If you need more assistance on setting up the financial year or the new financial year, chat to our support guys and they're able to do so. If you are at the end of your current financial year, the system will also roll over to the new financial year for you automatically. You'll get a pop-up message to advise you that your financial year has come to an end. It's a little wizard that will guide you through the process of moving through the financial year. And once you click the finish on the little wizard, you'll then log into the new financial year and you continue processing from there. On the back end, your profit and loss, all of those financial statements will roll over automatically, ensuring that you've got the correct information available to you in the new financial year. So all of that is available to you as well. Coming down to your lockdown dates. So if you're looking to lock down a specific date to avoid transactions being processed in that lockdown period, you can select the option to lock down the date. Select the date that you're looking to lock down. Any transactions on that date or prior to that date, you won't be able to make any adjustments or post transactions to that lockdown date. That typically happens during your tax season to avoid transactions being processed in a closed off VAT period. Looking at rounding in Sage Accounting, rounding, you've got the standard rounding option. So you've got round up, round down, normal rounding, and no rounding. Depending on your business requirements, you're able to change those rounding settings in the application itself. Coming over to your regional settings, this is where you're going to set your decimal places. So you have your quantity decimal places, your value decimal places, hour decimal places, your currency symbol. This is the currency symbol that your company trades in. And then your date format, which is the date that you're looking to view when you're processing transactions, as well as the date format on your financial reports as well, or general ledger reports as well. From a currency perspective, we've got the multi-currency module. So if you look at the bottom left-hand side, you've got multi-currency. This is an additional module. We're not going to have a look at that module. All the information is available to you in the help or in Sage City to get an understanding of what the module is all about. But if you trade in foreign currency, dollars, pounds, whatever it may be, you've got the multi-currency module that's available to you, which you can chat to our sales team about to purchase. If I go into it very quickly, just to give you an idea, if I select the option to add a currency and I select the currency, I'm able to go and select just about any currency available right around the world. We use a website called openexchangerate.org, which gives us the latest currency rates into the application. It gets fed into the application, so we're always using the most recent currency rate. If you're looking to have a fixed exchange rate, you could also set a fixed exchange rate. You'll have the option to set a fixed exchange rate for a specific period. So if you're trading at, for example, 17 Rand to the dollar for this week, you're able to set the date for the week and enter in the currency value that you're going to be trading at for the week on the Sage Accounting application. From a foreign currency variance perspective, all of that is taken care of in the back end of the application. So if you run your profit and loss report, you'll see you've got your profit and loss on foreign exchange, currency gains or losses. All of that is taken care of in the back end of the accounting application. And you're able to view the reports and transactions under the reports tab, financial statements, and your profit and loss report. Alternatively, you could also view the general ledger report for those currency variance accounts as well. Coming back to the general settings tab, we've had a look at the regional settings. You've got your customer and supplier settings. This is relating to your transactions that are being processed against a customer or supplier account. So if you are manually capturing customer reference numbers and you want to be warned if a duplicate reference number is being used, ensure that you go and tick the box. If you're looking to warn when duplicate supplier invoice numbers are being used, when you're capturing the supplier invoice, come and check the box. There are various other checkboxes that are available to you when you're reporting, possibly when you're processing transactions. Have a look at these options, which will then assist you in either getting a warning message or not processing transactions against a specific account. Maybe that account is no longer active. You're no longer working with a specific customer or purchasing from a specific supplier. You've now made that account inactive. You don't want that account to appear when processing or when reporting. There's a checkbox available for that as well. So play around with the settings, see which one is applicable for your business, and you can process it going forward from there. Looking at your item settings warn when item quantities fall below 0. Do not allow item quantities to fall below 0. Warn when item cost is 0. Warn when item selling price is below cost. Again, these are specific checkboxes related to inventory items in the accounting application. This will avoid you from processing tax invoices against an inventory item that you don't have in stock, or maybe the cost of the item is incorrect. So you want to get a specific warning when the cost is invalid and you need to go and update the cost of the item. All of that is available to you as well. What we've also got and recently introduced is the inventory perpetual method. So you'll use perpetual inventory system. So basically what your perpetual method does is it posts your inventory transaction to your balance sheet. Previously on the accounting application, it was a manual journal that you needed to process. You still have that option to do so. Alternatively, you can look at the inventory module, advanced inventory, and you will then have the option to use the perpetual inventory system method. And that will then take you through the process of setting up your inventory. And as you're generating transactions, supplier invoices, tax invoices, if it updates the inventory control account, it will then post the transaction to your balance sheet. Having a look at your price list, we've got unlimited price lists on the Sage Accounting application. As you can see, I've got a consumer price, bulk price, trade price, sale price, and a couple of discount options. These are your price list descriptions. If I go into items, add an item, and when selecting the option to add an item and I select the price list tab now, I'll see the description of that price list that's pulling through to the item itself. What I'm now able to do is enter in a price for that item itself, and which I can then go and link it to a specific customer's account. So if I've got a customer that typically purchases from me in bulk, I can set up a bulk price for them. I've got a sale price for them, a discount price for them. If I now go into a customer's account and I have a look at the price list field, which is over here, default price list, as you can see, they are my default price lists, which I can now link to my customer. So every time I generate an invoice, I don't need to go to my fancy Excel spreadsheet to see what price list this customer has. It will pull through that information because I've created it in my Sage Accounting application itself, saving you some time when generating your invoices on the customer's account. Coming back into the company setup itself and going back to my general settings, you've got your time tracking settings. This again is an additional module in the accounting application, which we're not going to be having a look at today. But if you are billing for your time, if you are working on specific projects and you're billing for your time, accountants, tax consultants, possibly photographers, whoever it may be, you're billing for your time, you're able to use the time tracking module in the accounting application, where you're able to set up projects, able to set up tasks, link it to specific customers' accounts, and bill for that time that is being spent completing the task or the project. Looking at your outstanding balances, this is your age analysis in Sage Accounting. There are two ways to view the age analysis, which is either on the invoice date or the due date of the invoice. Have a look at these settings, which one option is applicable to your business. A lot of customers use the invoice date, but that doesn't mean that it applies to you. Have a look at it, play around with that option and see exactly what it is. When you're running the report in Sage Accounting, it will be displayed as the customer days outstanding report. But typically what that is the age analysis. It's just a different name. Same output of the report. It's just the customer days analysis report. Coming through to your VAT settings, from a VAT perspective, we've got three VAT options. You've got your invoice-based VAT, payment-based VAT, and no VAT. Again, if your business has not been registered for VAT, please ensure that you come into the VAT settings and select the no VAT tab. If you are invoice-based VAT, please ensure that you select the specific checkbox, either invoice-based or payment-based. If you're looking to get an understanding as to what the difference is between invoice-based VAT and payment-based VAT is, invoice-based VAT, VAT is recognized on the invoice and goes through to your VAT control account. If it's payment-based VAT, VAT is only recognized at time of payment. So an invoice is captured with VAT, it goes through to a VAT provision account, and when payment is made, the system will then move that balance from your VAT provision account to your VAT control account. Have a chat with your accountant, maybe chat to a SaaS consultant to get a better understanding of it and which one is applicable to your business. That's your invoice-based VAT and payment-based VAT options. On the right-hand side, once you've entered your invoice-based VAT or payment VAT options, you're able to capture your VAT number, your VAT period end dates, as well as your submission dates. And that also includes your reporting frequency. So how often do you report to SARS on your VAT? So all of that is available to you. That is then linked to the VAT reports in Sage Accounting, which we'll have a look at a later stage. But under reports, you've got VAT, where you're able to view your VAT transaction reports, your audit trail reports. You're able to link your VAT payments to a specific VAT period that you've gone and closed off. All of that is available to you in the accounting application. Speaking about VAT, we are compliant in the region, obviously, which is why the accounting application is available. We are also compliant in the Middle East, Nigeria, Kenya. We've got instances of the Sage accounting application in Malaysia as well as Australia. There is an instance or a version of the online accounting application in the UK that is a completely different development team, completely different application itself, not linked to the South African version. So if you're looking to move your business over to the UK, know that you can purchase the Sage accounting application in the UK as well. Coming to your documents and statements, you've got your statement messages. So these messages would typically relate to outstanding payments. It could be the banking details that you wish to have appear on your banking statement, on your statement, your customer statement. So all you're going to do is you're going to come into your documents and statements, select the statement message tab, enter in the information you wish to have appear in the specific fields, 30, 60, 90 day, 120 days plus. Maybe you're charging interest after 60 days. You can put the interest percentage or interest value, whatever the case may be, in the statement message field as well. Looking at your document numbers, if you have been working, for example, in Microsoft Excel, or you've had a receipt book or invoice book, and you're looking to continue that sequence of numbers in the accounting application, what you're able to do is come into the accounting application, go into your document numbers, and under the new document number range field, you're able to enter in the new sequence of numbers which you'd like to use going forward. So as you can see, I've changed my customer invoice numbers from what it was previously, which was 002207 to what is that, 10,000 or 100,000, INV 1000000. Going forward, when I create a new invoice now, it will start using that sequence of numbers and not the previous numbers I had before on the accounting application. Coming to your document descriptions, if you're not happy with the descriptions that we've provided on the source documents, you're able to change the document number, the document description under your document description field itself. Document messages, quotes. Quote is valid for 60 days. Invoice, this payment on invoice is due 30 days after invoicing, whatever the case may be. Maybe you want to put your banking details on the invoice itself. You're able to do so, fill in the banking information, and you will have that information available to you on your invoice as well. So you generate the source document, you print the source document, and the message that you've captured in this field will appear on the source document. Looking at the supplier documents, exactly the same. So whatever message it is that you're looking to have available on the source document, you're able to enter it in that field. Coming over to your invoice and statement layouts. So in the accounting application, we have about 12, if not more, layouts available to you. We get a lot of customers who say, I'm not happy with this layout. I want to customize my layout. Before you customize your layout, can I suggest that you play around with the layouts that we've got available in the accounting application? If you have a look at the option that says browse additional layouts, we've got balance on next page, comments above, discount excluded, large logo, simple layout, unit included layout, as well as some custom layouts, some classic layouts. There are 12 different layouts in the accounting application. Play around with these layouts before you go down the route of customizing a new layout from scratch. To answer the question, yes, you can customize your layout. There's an application called the Custom Layout Designer. This is a free tool, a Windows-based tool. So if you're running a Mac, unfortunately, you won't be able to use the tool itself. But you can download the application by selecting the Click Here tab. Alternatively, you can go to add-ons or downloads at the bottom of the page and download the Custom Layout Designer. Once you've downloaded the tool, you're able to log into the tool using your Sage Accounting login details, and you will then be able to customize your layout as you wish, adding additional text, rich text, possibly adding additional logos, moving a couple of fields around, just depends on what you're looking to do in the accounting application. Looking at branding, this is your logos. So your company logo. we get a lot of questions around, can you add a logo? Where do I add a logo? It's all part of your company setup. So if you come into your company, change company settings, and under your branding, go and choose the file that you wish to add as your logo. Ensure that you've selected the position of the logo. So where do you want the logo to be viewed? Ensure that you've selected the 2 check boxes that says logo on invoices and statements that get emailed. So the PDF documents that get emailed, you want to get that logo onto it. Ensure you tick the box. And then also the logo on the customer zone. If you've activated the customer zone and you want to have your logo appear on the customer zone, ensure that you've gone and selected the checkbox as well. On the user-defined fields, this is additional fields relating to the Sage Accounting product. So what we need to remember is that the accounting application was never customized or designed for a specific business industry. But with these additional user-defined fields, you're able to have additional information appear on your invoices. So for example, if I go to my customers and I can see that I'm in the medical industry, I need to have the medical aid member's name, the medical aid number, as well as the ID number of the member available on my customer's account. You wouldn't typically see that on an accounting application. But what I'm able to do now is if I go into customers, I select add a customer, and from the add a customer tab, I go into my user-defined fields. There are the additional user-defined fields: medical aid member's name, medical aid number, ID number of the member itself. So that is available to me as well. So if I go back into my change company settings, I'll show you guys another example of this. If I go to my user-defined fields, I go to my documents and transactions. Now I'm in the motor industry. I service vehicles. I'm now able, what I'm looking to add is the registration number of the vehicle, the kilometers of the vehicle, the color of the vehicle, and the last service date of the vehicle. If I now go into customers, transactions, and I go to customer quotes, because that's the fields that I used, I go into add a quote, and from my options tab, I select the option that says show user-defined fields. I'm now able to enter in the registration number of the vehicle, kilometers of the vehicle, color of the vehicle, and from the calendar pick list, I'm now able to select the last service date of the vehicle itself. And again, using the custom layout designer, I'm able to pull those database fields over onto my invoice or quote layout so that when I print the document, it all appears on the document itself. Excellent. That's your user-defined fields, guys. Play around with these fields if you're looking to add additional information to your customer's account. Another example would possibly be if you're running a nursery school, for example, and you need to have the parents' information. So under the customer's account, under the user-defined fields, you could have a look and enter in a field called parent's name, the job title or ID number of the parent, whatever it may be. You're able to enter in that information. Date field, registration date for the applicant that's joining the school, that information can also be added to the document as well. Coming over to your email signatures, this is standard email signatures. It is all HTML, so no rich text, no color, no fonts, fancy fonts or logos at this point. You're able to add the email signature to your emails that get sent out of the application, your invoices, your statements that get sent through to your customers. You're able to add a email signature to that email that gets sent out from the application. So once you've got your company set up, what you would typically do is ensure that your users in the company have been created successfully. So under the administration tab, you're going to go into manage users, and this is where you're going to go and add the users in Sage Accounting. Simple case of selecting the option that says add user, enter in the user's name as well as their surname and their email address. Email address is very important because this is going to be the login email address for the new user. That email address will also be used for an email notification that will go through to that user to advise them that they have been added to the company profile in Sage Accounting. Once the user has been added, you then need to manage their access in the accounting application. So once you've granted them access to the company, on the right-hand side, you'll see the user's email address as well as permissions. When you click on permissions now, you are able to set specific permissions for that user. So for example, if you don't want your users to have access to the customer's statements, so you're going to go into customers, you're going to go into customer statement run, you're going to untick the box over there so that this user will not have access to run a statement. If you want to ensure, if you want the user to have access to the tax invoices, but you don't want them to edit any information if a tax invoice has been saved, you're able to untick the box to avoid users from editing those tax invoices once they've been created and saved in the accounting application. The correct route, I'm sure there's a lot of accountants on the call, the correct route to go in reversing a tax invoice is to generate a credit note. So please follow the correct accounting principles when it comes to generating transactions in the accounting application itself. So once you've gone and set the permissions for your user, select the option Save. Your user will then have access to the accounting application, and they are able to then go and process transactions, view report based on the user access that you've granted on for that user on the accounting system. Under the administration, you've got the option that says My Profile. This is where you're going to go and manage the profile in Sage Accounting. This is your specific profile in the accounting application. Have a look at My Profile. If you're looking to update your email address, change your contact details, update your password, there's no reason to give the email team or the sales team or the support team a call to make those changes. You're able to do so from administration, My Profile, and make the necessary changes in the accounting application itself. Also, under the Preference tab, you have the option to change your dashboards. So typically what would happen is when you log into the Sage Accounting application as a new user, you would end up on My Workspace. So this is what My Workspace looks like. I'm just waiting for the screen to load very quickly. There we go. These are what we call tiles, which you're able to easily navigate through the application without going through the menu options at the top of the page. So from My Workspace, you can go and select the option to create a quote, create a recurring invoice, generate a customer receipt, or generate a tax invoice. If for whatever reason these options are not part of your job function, you can select the option to customize and add or remove tiles or transaction types from My Workspace. So if I select, for example, the option to remove supplier payments because I don't generate supplier payments, I can simply click on the X over there. But what I do is I run the profit and loss report quite often, so I'm going to add that as an option. And I'm also going to add an option for, let's have a look, creating sales orders. So add the option for sales orders. When I click on Save now, what it's going to do is it is going to give me the option for sales orders. It's going to remove the option for my supplier invoice because I don't generate those. And it's also going to add the option for my profit and loss report. So I don't need to go to reports, financial statements, and then select profit and loss report. From My Workspace, I'm then able to just go and select the option profit and loss report. It'll take me straight to the profit and loss report filters where I'm able to run the report itself. If I'm not using My Workspace, I'm used to the application or I prefer navigating through the top of the page. If I go to Administration and My Profile, and I now go into the Preferences tab, I can change the My Workspace to my dashboard. So now when I log into the accounting application, it takes me straight to the dashboard and no longer to the My Workspace tab itself. So you can play around with that. Also under the My Profile, you've got email communication. If you prefer not to receive email communication from the Sage team, simply untick the box and you won't receive any communication from the sales team. But please remember, by doing so, you're not going to receive all the cool stuff, the video tutorials, the invites to the webinars, the information from the support team on what's happening, all of that cool stuff. If you don't receive that, I believe that you're going to be missing out. So up to you. Tick the box, untick the box, whatever your preference is. Excellent. So you've had a look at the administration now and managing your profile itself. We've had a look at setting up the company. So we're going to go through the company tab further. So from the company tab, you've got company notes and attachments. So through the accounting application, you'll find a little paperclip. That paperclip allows you to add an attachment to a transaction. So for example, if I go to my tax invoices, there's the little paperclip. If I click the little paperclip, it allows me to attach an image, a Word document, an Excel spreadsheet to the transaction itself, whatever it may be. If I want to view those attachments from my company notes and attachments tab, I'm able to view all of the attachments, all of the notes that I've made on the transactions on the customer's account, whatever the case may be. All of that is available to me under my company notes and attachments. In the accounting application, we've got an asset register. So this is not a full-blown asset module. It's just a register that keeps hold of the location of the asset, the value of the asset, and description of the asset, including the serial numbers. You're also able to link, for example, the warranty of the asset, whatever the case may be. All of that is available to you. If you're looking to generate your depreciation of the assets, that's going to be a journal that you've got to process. Have a chat with your accountant or your bookkeeper, and they'll be able to assist you in generating the depreciation against the assets itself. From a budgeting perspective, we've got a budget module that's available on the application. That is a standard feature on the application. Those budgets can be linked to your analysis code, which is what we're going to have a look at shortly. You can set up budgets against your sales accounts, your purchases accounts, whatever the case may be. You can set up budgets against, if you've got a director's credit card, you know, the directors love spending money. I don't know how they're spending money now during these COVID times, but you know, you can set up budgets for your accounts in the Sage Accounting application itself. So that when you're running a profit and loss report now, for example, you can run a profit and loss report against the budget that you've gone and created. So if I run a P&L report, my profit and loss report, I want to run it against a specific budget. I'm able to tick the budget option there. I also want to display the variance. So from a variance perspective, what is the actual value? What is the budgeted value? And what is the variance? Can I still spend, or have I overspent? So by selecting those two checkboxes, you are able to run your profit and loss report against the budget and pull the budget variance through on the profit and loss report as well. Coming back to the company tab, having a look at your user tasks. So in the application, you are able to assign tasks to specific users in the accounting application. So for example, if you're working with a specific customer, you've got to complete the bank statement to ensure that the customer's statement is up to date by the end of the week. You go and assign a task to a specific user to complete that for you. That user will receive a notification to show that a task has been assigned to them. Once they've completed the task, they will then have the option to mark the task as completed. You are then able to review the task and close off the task once it has been completed. So have a look at the user task management. Again, this is a standard feature on the application as well. Coming over to analysis codes. Analysis codes, what we have is three analysis codes linked to, or three analysis code categories linked to multiple descriptions. So for example, I've got regions, I've got cost centers, and I've got projects. My regions are Cape Town, Johannesburg, and Durban. My cost centers are marketing and sales. My projects are my Sage Accounting launch and the Sage Accounting workshop. What I'm able to do is I can set up a regional budget. So if I go to company budgets, I can select the option to add a budget for that specific region. I can set up a budget for a specific cost center, so a marketing budget or a sales budget, or I can set up a budget for a specific project. So what I'm now able to do is, as I'm generating a transaction, for example, if I go to banking, transactions, and banking, if I go and enter in an expense for a specific project, I'm just going to use this fuel account as an example, 1,000 Rand. When I select the drop down, I'm now able to select a specific analysis code where this transaction is going to be linked to. So for example, I am in Cape Town. I am part of a marketing project or cost center, and I am working on the Sage Accounting launch. So my marketing team is involved in a marketing launch in Cape Town. I generated the transaction for 1,000 Rand on a specific date. So let's enter in, today's the 30th. I'm going to select the option to save changes and mark this transaction as reviewed. If I go into reports, my financial statements, under my financial statements, I go to my profit and loss report. And on my profit and loss report, I now go and run it against the analysis code. Let's actually run it for my region, Cape Town, my marketing, and the specific project that I was working on. I can't remember which one it was. I'll just run that one for now. I'll select the budget, variance, and my Cape Town marketing budget, and I select view report. So what will typically happen now is it's going to show all the transactions that were linked to Cape Town marketing accounting workshop. It's also going to pull through the budget for whichever budget I've gone and set it up for, and it will show me the variance. So there's my actual, there's my budget, there's my variance, and it will show me the fuel expense, which I selected the wrong project. It should have been the launch and not the workshop, but it will pull through the actual value for that specific project that I've gone and set up, or analysis code that I've gone and set up. So if you're looking for a deeper level of reporting in the Sage Accounting application, where you want to track expenses and income for specific, as I mentioned, cost center, specific project, or in a specific region, maybe you've got a group of directors, maybe you are whatever it may be, you are able to use these analysis codes for that in the business itself. So play around with those analysis codes. Again, chat to our support guys if you need any assistance or more information or clarification on the analysis codes and how you could get it to work for your business. But this is just an easy example as to how you can use it. Setting up a region, setting up a cost center, setting up a project, allocating the expense to those, and running a profit and loss report against it. If I now go and run that profit and loss report without linking any of the analysis codes to it, it will then give me a full overview of all transactions that I've captured in the Sage Accounting application, not specific to the analysis code, but all transactions in the application itself. So have a look at that and see if it is applicable to your business. Looking at the additional fields that's available or tabs under the company tab, you've got the option to import data. So if you've got an Excel spreadsheet, that Excel spreadsheet contains your customer master information, supplier master information, your inventory items, whatever it may be. Have a look at import data. If I select import data, you've got customers, customer categories, supplier categories, items, assets, locations, accounts. This is your general ledger account. That's available to you. So if you've got an Excel spreadsheet, you're looking to pull that information over into the accounting app, you're able to do so. What you're also able to do is export information from the accounting application from the company tab. So company, export data. By selecting customers, this will export your customer master file and everything linked to that customer master file, email address, the price list that might be linked to it, the tax preference, whatever the case may be. Whatever you see under the customers information tab is what is going to be exported from the accounting application itself. Excellent stuff. So we've had a look at the company setup. We've had a look at the administration where we work through these various tabs. We're now going to look at the accounting application itself. So coming to the home tab, we're going to start on my workspace. So my workspace we had a chat about already, working through my workspace and the different tiles that you may easily navigate through the product as well, instead of using the tabs at the top. Just a side note, top right hand side of the screen, you'll see you've got this little star, a pink star. That's not a 1-star rating on the application. This is a my favorites icon. So if you scroll over the icon, it says manage favorites. My favorites are my tax invoices, my supplier purchases, my customer quotes. So basically, if I just scroll over the star, I'm able to easily navigate to whichever icon or whichever transaction type I've gone and created. So if I go to the star and I select customer tax invoice, it takes me straight to my tax invoice. I don't need to go through the entire process of customer transactions, customer tax invoice, and from the customer tax invoice tab, select the add tax invoice. Easily navigate through from the my favorites. If you want to manage your favorites, scroll over the star, select the manage favorites tab, and it's a simple drag and drop process to either add a transaction or remove a transaction. Drag and drop from the 2 screens that you're seeing at the top over there. Excellent stuff. Once we've got that in, we are now going to have a look at the dashboards that you've got in the Sage Accounting product itself. And to start off with, we're going to go to Home Dashboards. And this is the main dashboard in the accounting application. So from the main dashboard, these are what we call widgets, your to-do list, your banking widgets, sales widgets, top purchases. If you're looking to add or remove widgets from your dashboard, go to the dashboard options, select the option to add a widget. These are little check boxes that you can go and add or remove, and these will add additional widgets to your dashboard. Play around with these widgets and see which one you actually like using. Gives you a good overview of the company from the dashboard itself. For me, my to-do list is a very important widget. This is all data-driven. So if I go to my to-do list, I can see that I've got 18 expired quotes. What are those quotes? It will give me a list of all the quotes that are expired or about to expire. I'm now able to drill down by selecting detail. I drilled down to the quote that was captured. I can go and see, is this quote still valid? Do I need to make contact with this customer? Has this quote expired? And what I'm also able to do is, if I've made contact and this client is now looking to purchase the item, from my options tab, I can select the option that says create invoice. By doing so, it will pull all the information through from my quote over to the invoice. I don't need to recapture the invoice itself, and all that information will be pulled through. Coming back to my dashboard, as I mentioned, it's all date driven. So you've also got customer notes. So for example, if you're following up now on a customer's account, so a customer has been overdue, you've made contact with the customer says now that they're going to be paying in the next 10 to 15 days for that outstanding invoice. You can go into customers list of customers, call up that specific customer's account. On the customer's account, you're going to go into the Notes tab, and you can now go and add a note to that customer's account. So you've made contact with this customer on the 29th, which was yesterday. The subject was outstanding invoice. And you can enter in everything pertaining to that customer's account, or the note that you've made, or whatever information it is that you're looking to keep on that account itself. So what will now happen is that, is there an action date? So the entry date would be the 29th or the 30th, today's date. An action date would be 2 weeks from now. My apologies. So it's the 13th. And what will happen is, on the 13th, you'll now get a notification on your dashboard on your customer notes. Over here, customer notes, and it will then pull through the note that you've added for follow-up on that customer's account. Maybe it's a case of, I need to call this customer in a week's time, 2 weeks time, follow up on the payment, whatever the case may be. You're able to do so on the dashboard itself. Coming back to the drill down functionality, so you've got full drill down in the accounting solution itself. So I can select, for example, customer days outstanding. I can select the bar chart over there to see what is outstanding for this customer. It will drill down to all the receipts that have been captured, or payments for suppliers, invoices for your, from a sales history perspective. I can drill down to my sales history, and you can actually go to the actual invoice itself. So you've got full drill down functionality on the invoice. You've got 5 different dashboards: your standard dashboard, customer, supplier, items, as well as your financial dashboard, which is available to you. Coming over to your customers' accounts, this is where you're going to manage your customers. So this is basically your customer module. Adding customers, generating transactions for your customers, reporting on those customers, as well as the new debtors management tool that has been made available on the accounting application as well. This is an additional tool. Chat to our sales guys for a costing on the debtors manager module, and we'll have a look at that debtors manager module very quickly shortly. So coming over to customers, we had a look at adding customers. Let's just check that very quickly. So you've got the option to enter in your customers' information. Are they going to accept electronic invoices? Do you want them to be excluded from the debtors manager module? Do you want the accounts to be put on hold at a specific point? So if they reach a specific limit, is this account going to be placed on hold automatically? You can do so by selecting that checkbox. Customers, postal address, delivery addresses, and then bottom right hand side, some really important information pertaining to the customer's account. You've got your statement distribution. Please ensure that you correct the statement distribution option. Default discount, the price which we had a look at earlier, the VAT type, due date for payment, so invoices that get generated, what will the due date be? You've got your currency, so typically, am I trading with a customer in the US? This is a US dollar customer. Is it in the UK? So this would be a pound sterling customer. So all of that information is available to you as well. Coming back to customers, customer lists. So your customer list, this is what we call a grid screen, which gives you a high-level overview of your customer's account. By selecting this little icon on the top right-hand side that says Customize Grid, you're able to add or remove additional fields. So for example, I've got active, balance, category, customer name, mobile number, and telephone number added to it. I can add my sales rep, I can add my price list, as well as the credit limit on this customer's account. When I click on Save now, it's going to add those additional fields at the top. I'm able to filter by the specific field, which is available to me as well. And what I'm also able to do is I can export this customer listing to Excel. Select the CSV icon, and I can export that information to Excel. If I go to customers list, I've got my sales reps. My sales reps are just for reference purposes. We don't have commission structures available in the accounting application. So if I'm generating a transaction and I need to link my sales rep to the transaction, I can go and select the sales rep on the transaction and export that information if I've got an Excel spreadsheet where I'm managing my reps commission at the end of the day. Customer transactions. You've got your customer quotes, which is standard on an accounting application. You've got your sales orders, your customer tax invoices, your recurring invoices, your credit notes. You can generate a receipt against a customer's account. You're able to allocate that receipt against the outstanding invoice on the customer's account. You're able to write off a balance for that customer for whatever reason, or you can also generate an adjustment on the customer's account. That is your customer journal. So the adjustments is your customer journal. Your supplier transactions, supplier adjustments is your supplier journal. And from the accountant's area, you've got your process journal entries, which is your general journal on the accounting application. When I go to customer transactions, let's just have a look at a couple of these transaction types very quickly. You've got your customer tax invoices. Customer tax invoices, so you're able to see the status again from the grid screen, the status of that invoice. You're able to see if it's come from a specific source document. So I've got quite a few recurring invoices set up on my accounting system. Again, recurring invoices, if you're a subscription business, you don't want to be generating an invoice every single month for the same customer. You're able to set up a recurring invoice, and that allows you to set a specific time frame, specific date for the invoice to go out, a due date of the invoice, and the system will then generate those invoices for you automatically based on the criteria that you've set for the recurring invoice in the accounting application. So I can go and select the option that says add a recurring invoice. This would be my criteria for the invoice, and this would be the information linked to the customer. So what subscription are they linked to? What service offering am I providing to this customer on a monthly basis? How often do I want this invoice to go out to my customer's account? All of that is available to you under your recurring invoices. To get to that, customers, transactions, recurring invoices. Just keep that in mind as you're working through the accounting application. If it's linked to the customer module, if you need to run a specific customer report, customers, reports, and it will list all the reports linked to customers. Again, a side note, we've got around 46 different reports available in the accounting application. Play around with these reports. See which reports are applicable to you, which one is you would use on a monthly basis, weekly basis. Familiarize yourself with these reports in the accounting application and see what the outputs are at the end of the day. There's no reason to give these support guys a call when it comes to these reports. Play around with it. Have a look and see what's available to you in the accounting product itself and see if it's going to be working for you. Excellent. Coming over to customers, having a look at the debtors manager module very quickly. As I mentioned, this is an additional module where you're able to manage your customers' accounts, what is outstanding for those customers, following up on outstanding payments for those customers, putting through or generating workflows in the accounting application where if a customer hasn't made payment for a specific period, what action should the system do thereafter? So from the customer tab, you select the debtors management tab. You can start off by having a look at the Non-payment reasons, you can have a look at the communication that needs to go out through to those customers. So for example, if I go to outstanding invoice communication, so if I go to, my apologies, let me just go back one screen here. From my workflow, I need to send an email after 7 days if an invoice hasn't been paid. What is the email? What information or what should be displayed on that email? You are able to customize that email. We've got placeholders which you can then pull through from the database onto the email layout, and your customer will then receive an email after 7 days to say that the invoice hasn't been paid. Well, obviously this is depending on the due date of the invoice itself. Do you want this customer to be placed on hold after 7 days? Typically you wouldn't. So what you would find is that a customer's account will be placed on hold after 30 days, after 60 days, after 90 days. That is by selecting the little checkbox that says place customer on hold, which is also linked to, if you guys remember, the checkbox that we selected over here that says new invoice on hold, where you are blocking a new invoice from being captured against the customer's account if that invoice or if that customer's account is due. So if I go back to my Debtors Manager module, I go back to my invoice workflow, I can work through this at any point after 28 days, after 30 days, after 60 days, after 90 days. You are able to customize these different email layouts for the specific periods. And at the end of the day, you are managing the communication from the accounting application. You are at the same time taking note of the communication that you're having with a customer. If you've got users that are following up and you need to add notes to the communication that you're having with that customer, non-payment reasons. So if the client is unable to make payment for whatever reason, you're able to enter in those reasons. For example, this customer has required a credit note. The customer has requested a copy of the invoice. The customer is disputing the price that was issued on the invoice. For whatever reason, you're able to enter in those reasons or reason codes for the communication. So if I now go to my customer's account, I go to customer transactions and I go to tax invoices, I'm now conversing with that customer. I go into my calendar, I select the option to add a new note against the outstanding invoice or overdue invoice. I can enter in that notes now. What, as the customer said, what's the reason for non-payment? So here are my non-reason or non-payment codes linked to the account. So price dispute, for example, the anticipated payment. So I'm going to give this another 15 days, whatever the case may be, before I follow up again. What is the next action that should take place against this customer account? So all of these codes are available to you on the Debtors Manager module. And again, it's an easier and more efficient way to manage the outstanding balances on the customer's account. Chase up those outstanding balances, chase up those invoices for payment at the end of the day. Have a look at the Debtors Manager module. See if it's a tool that's applicable for your business. Chat to our sales guys for costing on this. And as I mentioned, have a chat with the support guys. Go to Sage City, post a question to get a better understanding of the module and see how it actually works. The guys are available to you. There's documentation available and videos available online on the new modules as well. So have a look at that and see if it's applicable for your business. Coming over to the suppliers very quickly. Suppliers, you've got your supplier transactions, purchase orders, invoices, your supplier returns, supplier payments, supplier batch payments. That's linked to your payment gateway. So you're able to process your supplier payments from the application itself using the payment gateway. You've got your allocate payments as well as your supplier adjustments. From a reporting perspective, again, on the supplier's account, play around with these reports. You've got your supplier statements, the supplier transaction, as well as the purchase order reports for your suppliers. Have a look at these reports that's available to you. See which one is applicable for you and which one do you favor at the end of the day. Again, there's not always a reason to give the support guys a call. Play around with these reports. Get familiar with the solution itself before you reach out to the guys. It's one way to learn the application. Coming over to items. From an item perspective, these are your inventory items. So you could either be selling a physical item or you could be providing a service at the end of the day. Physical items will have its quantities, will have the cost, as well as the inclusive and exclusive selling prices. Those items will go through specific sales or purchases accounts when they are being purchased or sold. You are able to manage those accounts at the bottom of the screen where it says item accounts. As I mentioned, you have your perpetual inventory method now. So you have your item, your inventory item control account where your transactions will get processed to. That inventory account will be linked to your balance sheet. So if you run your balance sheet, you'll now see the inventory control account on the application. That's only, again, if you have the advanced inventory module on the accounting solution. So have a look at that. From a service perspective, so it's a service offering that you provide at the end of the day. So what is the inclusive and exclusive selling price? You'll see there's no quantity for that, but now you're possibly managing or billing for your time for the service that you're providing at the end of the day. So what is your hourly rate? Whatever the case may be, you can now add that to the accounting application as well. An invoice for your time. You have your price lists, as I mentioned. You have the activity of the item, what has been sold, what has been purchased. You have notes that can be linked to the inventory item. As I mentioned earlier on, you have your user-defined fields. And then from an item management perspective, you're able to adjust the item quantities, the item selling prices on the item, on the average cost of the item through the item adjustment menu option. From the item transaction adjust item selling prices, you're able to adjust the selling price, as I mentioned. If you've got price lists set up, as a lot of clients would typically have set up, you're able to adjust the price list for, or the selling price on those specific price lists. So it won't just be a general price update, it will be a price list update that you're looking to do on the accounting application. So have a look at the inventory items and see what's available on the application as well. What we also have on the item list are item bundles. So this is not a bill of materials module. So what we typically have is, for example, you have 24 cool drink bottles that you are selling. You could sell those items as individual bottles of cool drink. Alternatively, you could put it in a crate and sell off a crate of cool drinks at a specific price. So you're able to put that pricing bundle together. You're working with, in the IT industry, you're selling computers, laptops, whatever the case may be. You're selling the monitors as individual items. You're selling the mouse as an individual item. You're selling the keyboard as an item, or you could put it together and sell a full-on computer system at a specific price. So you're able to do that using the item bundles in the application as well. From an item reporting perspective, you've got your item lists all the way down to the important stuff like your item movement, item valuation, as well as the price lists, and then your item quantities. That's available to you in the accounting application as well. Just keeping a heads up on the time. We're going to be finishing in the next 15 minutes or so to allow for some questions to be answered if possible, if there are any questions that have been posed. If you haven't posed any questions, no problem. If you do have something in mind, please post it through and we'll have a look at those questions in the next few minutes or so. Coming back to the accounting application, to the banking module, from a banking perspective, there are 3 ways to generate transactions in the accounting application from a banking perspective. You can generate transactions manually. So from a manually transaction perspective, I can go into the banking module. I can go select a specific date for the transaction, enter in a description for the transaction. Am I processing a customer receipt, a supplier payment, or an expense? If it's just a general expense, maybe it's my municipality fees. Let's go telephone. Telephone and internet fees. Reference is Metro Fiber, who is my service provider for my line. And I typically spend anywhere between 500 Rand a month, for example. Manually capturing transaction, I can save the change and it will update the balance on my account. The second option would be to import a bank statement. How do I import a bank statement? Under the banking screen, select the option that says bank statement import. I want to import a CSV file. If you need to get an understanding of what the layout might look like, there's an option that says, how do I set up a CSV file? Please select the little field over there, which gives you a breakdown of what the CSV file actually looks like. You have the option to download an example as well. So I'm going to import a CSV file. I'm going to select Browse. I'm going to select the file that I wish to import, and I'm going to select the option that says Import File into the application, or Import File. It's now going to import my transactions. I can see from the message that I've received, your CSV file has imported as import completed successfully. 30 rows have been successfully imported. 21 of those important transactions have been allocated and need to be reviewed. So basically what this is telling me that I've got mapping rules that have been set up, and those mapping rules have been applied to specific transactions that have been imported, and it's allocated those transactions for me automatically. An example of that would be this payment to my supplier over here. The fuel expense over here has been allocated, some additional fuel expenses that have been automatically allocated for me. There are a couple of transactions that I need to go and manually allocate. So if I go to, for example, my cell C, I can go and say this is part of my internet and telephone. I'm going to allocate it to that specific account. So now that I've gone through my bank statement, I don't want to go and manually allocate these every time. I want the system to allocate it for me at the end of the day, because that's what the system is all about, saving you time. So I want to set up mapping rules for these transactions that have gone and allocated to these general ledger accounts. So to do so, all you're going to do is you're going to scroll over to the right. You'll see that you've got the option that says create rule. You'll select the option that says create rule, and you'll enter in the description, the payee. Oh my goodness. The payee, and description of the transaction. And when I click on save now, it will now update that transaction: outsurance, vehicle insurance, and the value for the vehicle insurance. If it was the Cell C account, again, select the option to create the rule, enter in the information, and going forward, what the system will now do is, when I do a bank statement import and it recognizes the description, the reference that has been used on the transaction or on the import file, it will then allocate that transaction for me automatically. I don't need to go and allocate it again going forward. To give you an idea of what my bank statement looks like, this is the bank statement that I imported into the accounting application. You need three fields: the date, the description, and the amount. Those are the three fields that you need when importing into the application. The date will be the date format that you're pulling through. So if I go to my bank statement import again, you'll see you've got your date format. Mine is day, month, year. If I look at my bank statement, it's got exactly that: the date, the month, the year of the transaction itself. The description will pull through from the bank statement, as well as the value. And once it imports successfully into the application, you can then go and allocate it to the specific general ledger accounts, customer accounts, supplier accounts, whatever it may be. And then just remember to create the rule for the transaction, so that when you import the bank statement again, you don't have to go and manually allocate the transaction to the system. The system will do it for you automatically. I'm going to select the option to save changes. If you've gone and manually, if you've gone and set up rules, and you now want to manage those rules, I can go to banking, banking lists, and then bank statement mapping rules. These are all the rules that I've set up on my bank statement. I can go and update these rules. I can go and delete a specific rule, so maybe it doesn't apply to me anymore. I can add additional rules, so simply clicking the plus sign will allow me to add an additional rule to the system itself. And you're able to enter in that information for that specific rule. Your rules are based on, what are you looking for? Oh, sorry, your duplicates are based on either the date and the amount. Do not check for duplicates, or date, description, and amount. And then you can check for duplicates on new transactions, review transactions. So if I go into my banking screen, my banking menu option, I've got two tabs. One says new transactions, one says review transactions. What are you basing the duplicate check on? Is it going to be on both these or just the new transactions that you've gone and captured? Some of you might be saying, okay, so how do I identify a duplicate transaction? So if I go and import this bank statement again, the very same bank statement, the system should recognize that there are duplicate transactions. So if I go to import file, it's now going to pull through quite a few duplicates. There we go. Duplicate found, duplicate found, duplicate found. So these are all duplicate transactions because they've come through previously on my bank statements. So what I'm now able to do is, for example, if I select on the duplicate found, I now have the option to either delete the transaction, keep the transaction, or keep original and reconcile, depending on what your requirements are. I'm going to select the option to delete the transaction because I know that it's a duplicate, and the system will then delete the duplicate transaction. If you find that there are quite a few duplicate transactions, you don't want to now go and individually check these. You know 100% that these are duplicate transactions. What you're able to do is you are able to select the checkbox on the left-hand side under the Home tab. Give me 1 second. There we go. So I can go and select these duplicate transactions on the left-hand side. And then from the top, I have the option that says delete. Alternatively, I have the option that says keep duplicates as well. You can delete it if you know for a fact that these are duplicate transactions. The third option, so we've had a look at manually capturing transactions. We've had a look at importing a bank statement. Remember, on the bank statement, you need 3 columns, the date, description, and the amount, and also ensuring that the date format is correct. So that's importing a bank statement. You also have the option to import an OFX format, standard bank CSV, a net cash CSV, or his historic CSV. Please note, there is no option to import PDF bank statements. PDF bank statements, if you have gone to the bank and you've selected a bank statement for more than 3 months or 3 months, they're going to give it to you in a PDF format. You need to convert that PDF format to a CSV file and then look at importing it into the application. There are tools available online on Google. You have the option to convert from PDF to CSV, play around with it, and you are then able to, once you've got the correct format, import that bank statement into the accounting application. The third option to pull transactions through into the banking application is to use the bank feeds. So if I go to banking transaction and I select the option to manage bank feeds, this is a process of linking your bank account up to Sage. At this point, we use a third-party tool called Yodlee. They are a banking aggregator where they pull through the bank statement information into the accounting system itself. It is a secure solution. There are quite a few accounting service providers that use the tool as well. So that's an application called Yodlee. So for example, if I go to APSA and I select the APSA option, it's going to ask me for all my login details pertaining to my APSA bank account. What will also happen is you will receive a notification when the bank feed is refreshed. If you've gone into the banking system and you've selected the option to refresh on login. Every time you log into the application on Sage Accounting, it's going to do a bank statement refresh and it's going to pull through the latest bank feed information or your latest bank statement information into the accounting system. You will receive notifications on your cell phone as you typically would when you're generating transactions in the bank account. What you also need to remember is it is a one-way pull from the bank. We do not post transactions to your bank account. We do not change anything on your bank account. All we're doing is we're pulling information, the bank statement information, into the Sage accounting system itself. We are not changing anything on your banking institution itself. There is no way we can do that. We don't have that type of integration for that to actually happen. So once that bank feed information has been pulled through, you can do exactly the same. Set up your bank statement mapping rules. If there are duplicate transactions, you can remove those duplicate transactions. It works the same as your bank statement import itself. So have a look at that. See which one you actually favor at the end of the day. Manually capturing transactions, which for me is pretty old school, but there are a lot of clients that still do that. You could import a bank statement, CSV file. Alternatively, you could use the bank feed to pull that information into the accounting system. You're able to delete transactions, as we had a look at. If I go to my review transaction, it's going to show all the transactions that I have I've reviewed. I can filter for specific transactions for specific dates. So you've got your date pick list at the top here. If there's a specific reference that you're looking to find for a specific transaction, you're able to search for that information as well. If I go back to my new transaction tab, on the right hand side, you've got the more information tab. So if I click that drop down, as I mentioned, you're able to enter in your analysis codes. You can enter in a comment for that as well. If it is a customer receipt, for example, you are able to enter in the discount amount. Is it cash? Is it EFT? How has that money actually come through? All that information is available to you. What you're also able to do is you're able to allocate that receipt to the invoice that has been captured. Simply select the allocate tab. If there is a source document of sorts that you're looking to link to the transaction, select the paperclip and you can add that to the transaction itself. If it is a general ledger transaction and you're looking to split the transaction between multiple GL accounts, select the option to split transaction by selecting that little double-sided arrow on the screen over there, and that allows you to split your transactions. Having a look at the banking reports, so if I go to banking reports, you've got your banking credit card reports, you've got your transaction report, cash movement, cash flow, as well as the bank feeds audit trail. That's available to you as well. So that's the banking module. We're going to move over to the accountants area and reports very quickly before we finish things up now. Under accounts, this will be a list of all your general ledger accounts. In the accounting system, you've got your standard GL accounts, which you can go and add or remove. What you need to remember is that if you've got an account that says system account, for example, your sales account is a system account, you cannot delete or change a sales account because it is a system account. If you've got additional system accounts like your Forex, if you're using Multicurrency, these are all system accounts. You cannot change or delete these system accounts. Expense accounts can be changed. For example, general expense accounts, all of those can be added or removed in the accounting application. Also, if there is history on the account, you cannot delete the account if there is history because there are reports linked to it, there's transactions linked to it. This applies to customers, suppliers, as well as your inventory items. You cannot delete an account that has history on it. So please remember that as you're working through the accounting application. From the accounts perspective, again, you've got your reports, your account listing, as well as your account transaction report. You are able to adjust the opening balance on those general ledger accounts. And then you've got your account reporting groups. So it's the grouping of GL accounts, which you're also able to do in the accounting product. Under the accountants area, you have the option to invite your accountant to the system, send a note to your accountant. So it's an easy way to communicate through the application with your accountant. You have the option to process general journals. You're able to process recurring journals. So if you've got a journal that you process on a monthly basis, you don't want to process the same transaction every single month because you know it happens. Create a recurring journal. The system will generate the transaction for you. From a reporting perspective, this is just another way to get through to your general ledger reports on the accounting system, your management reports, which is your P&L, balance sheet, trial balance, as well as your budget report. And then from a VAT perspective, as I mentioned, if we go to reports and VAT, you have your VAT 201 report, your VAT report, summary report, transaction, your payments and refunds, your VAT audit trail reports, as well as your electronic invoices reports. From a transaction perspective, you're able to process your VAT adjustments, as well as your VAT payments and refunds. Having a look at the VAT screen, so you'll have an open VAT period. Those VAT periods apply to your reporting frequency. So every 2 months, you would then need to close off the VAT period. If that VAT period has come to an end, you would then report back to SARS. And once you've received feedback, you either need to make a payment to SARS or you're getting a refund. You're able to generate that transaction, payment or refund, and you can then link it to that specific VAT period. So you have that full VAT processing and VAT reporting on the accounting application as well. From a reports perspective, as I mentioned, 46 different reports in the accounting product. You also have access to the accounting intelligence reporting where you're able to generate and produce additional reports in Excel outside of the accounting application. This is standard on the accounting solution, so this could be a management report of sorts. You are able to customize your reports in the Sage Accounting Intelligence reporting tool. This again also just requires your Sage Accounting login details, and once you get into it, you will then see a list of the reports that's available to you outside of the accounting application itself. So that brings us to an end. I'm hoping that the webinar was beneficial. Take care, guys.